Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back to my channel. Well, our Florida vacation got canceled because of the hurricanes, but our boys came home and we took a weekday and went to Indianapolis and saw some of the sights up there. We love to go to Indianapolis. The boys love to go to all the ball games up there. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for those of you who don't live in the area and may have never seen it. That's the part of the bleachers and the track. It's huge, as you can imagine. We've been by here so many times we don't really think that much of it. And then I like to look at the Walker Theater when I go by. It's the Madam C.J. Walker Theater that I've told you about her before. There's a huge mural downtown by Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and she's on the mural. She's one of the prominent figures from Indianapolis, and she had a home there at one time and a big business, and now her theater. And you can go by her theater and see it. Now her house is no longer there, but I would love to have seen it. And I've read a couple of books about her, and if you haven't checked her out, you should. She's a very interesting woman, and I like to watch that stuff. And then there's a lot of pretty murals, and there's a lot of pretty statues and art figures through this one's made of like stained glass. And this was a building either being built or being fixed. I don't know which. And I love to look at the architecture. I just love all the beautiful architecture and try to imagine how they did that back in the days when they may not even had cars back then. And all the intricate cement work that they did and the carvings around the windows up high. I can't even imagine how they did that. And then Eva Kors was a friend of my husband's, and she was a Holocaust survivor. She's passed away now, but if you ever get a chance to go to Terre Haute, Indiana, and see the Candles Museum, Eva spoke there a lot, and that's how we got to know her. And I just love seeing her represented in downtown Indianapolis like this. She was an amazing woman. My boys went there several times, and my husband took his class there on field trips. And if you don't know about Eva Kors, look her up on YouTube, or you can just look her up and read her story. It's just absolutely amazing. And she was a wonderful woman that we were honored to get to know. And then my boys, they played in a pickup ball game down at Gainbridge Fieldhouse with a bunch of boys, and they had a great time. We just sat on the bleachers and watched them. I think my husband played a little bit. And we walked the streets and looked at everything, and they had such pretty things there at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for people to do. This big silver ball, you could go inside it, and it was all technical. I don't know exactly what was going on, but it was neat. And then, of course, they had a big mural of Caitlin Clark on the wall. My kids really like her. And I was looking at this building as we were walking down an alley, and look in that window of the door. That's real greenery growing in there. I thought it was fake until I walked up. It's on the inside of the door and window, some kind of ivy growing. And they had a concert getting ready to start, and we noticed the event parking was $20, and I thought, man, that's high. They raise it up when there's a concert. And then we turned around and came back, and as we walked back to our car, the parking went up to $40 for this concert, which I think's a little much. Then at Lucas Oil Stadium, the boys wanted to go by there and see Peyton Manning's statue, so we had to. Luckily, there was a place in front to park, so we could see it pretty good. And we went to Monument Circle. My husband and I went through there on our honeymoon, and we stayed at a place called Embassy Suites right there at the Monument Circle, and it's really pretty. And the boys and Kevin, they had to go to Rocket Fizz. It's a candy and soda shop, and they loved that. And then the boys wanted to take us to Goodfellas. There's two pizza places that they like up there. One's Goodfellas and the other's called Giorgio's, I believe. And the boys, I'm not a pizza person, but the boys said this is the best pizza in town. It ties with Giorgio's, but we chose Goodfellas. And then the next day, we went to the art district of Carmel, Indiana. Carmel, Indiana is one of the top 10 places in the United States to live, and they have the neatest downtown area. The whole town's neat. They had all these nice statues around. Sometimes you'd be sitting on a bench and look over and think you were looking at a real person, but they're just sculptures, and they're really interesting. And, of course, I had the boys go downtown and walk around and check things out while I went to, yes, the miniature museum. the Museum of Miniature Houses and Other Collections in downtown Carmel. I'm telling you what, guys, I've been to this museum so many times, and there's just absolutely so much to look at that it takes you probably 2 days to see it all. But I've been there several times, so I just kind of took some pictures for you guys, and I just wanted to show you some of the really good, interesting things that I saw, which, of course, in miniatures, I like everything. And I'm sorry for the glare on some of these pictures, but every display had glass in front of it. So I had a hard time getting pictures with no glare. But this is a big mansion that someone had built. It was absolutely beautiful and all lit up. They had all of the lights on all the dollhouses. I thought this was pretty, one of the ceilings. After seeing all of these beautiful miniatures, it makes me feel like my miniatures need to step it up a little bit. I need to move up a little bit in my miniature making, but I enjoyed it so much. These little baskets, some of them were only an inch tall. Some of them were probably lower than an inch. And then they had these jewels, crowns of the royal family. This is just a little glass dome, and these had real jewels on them, and they're just beautiful. It was kind of hard to zero in and get close-up pictures, but I did the best I could. Aren't they beautiful? That took some work right there. Of course, miniature making is hard. This is a ranger room. They have a bunch of furniture and rooms that kids can play and have a lot of fun. This shows you the components that it takes to just make one chair in miniature. And of course, I liked all the tea sets and the china and all the dishes and vases. I thought this was really pretty, kind of a mid-century modern kitchen. I can't even talk. And just all the beautiful little pieces. You just had to be there and really take your time. There were other people walking around, so it was hard to stay at each display for very long. I thought this was pretty. It was a tatted bedspread that was probably only 4 inches long and about 3 inches wide. And tatting is such a delicate art. I have one little tatted doily, and someone had used thread to make this little afghan, and then some felted work, and all of this is in 1/12 inch scale. And that's a little patchwork quilt. I can't even imagine how they did that. These little clothes, that's probably 2 inches tall. And this little dress is probably 4 or 5 inches tall. I wish I could have got all the names of the people who made these. I love this little hand-painted rose lamp. And looky here, guys, some cranberry glass in miniature. I've never had any cranberry in miniature. A little shaving set in a bathroom. I thought this tile was beautiful. It was real tile, too. Little tiny, probably 3/4 inch squares. And a lot of copper. They had a big display of a French kitchen in like a Parisian hotel or something, and it was so beautiful. And of course, Jane Graber pottery, which is my all-time favorite miniature. They had a lot of it. And this is a little porch. Someone had made the little swing. I've seen people pay $150 to $200 for chandeliers for dollhouses when I've gone to shows. And these are little miniature paintings that are about 1.5 inches, and a thread box. And all the these are little perfume bottles and lamps made out of beads. This is a little Annie Oakley pinball machine that had stones in it. And I heard someone say that it really worked. I don't know if it did or not. But a lot of times the miniatures, people make them to where they mechanically work. And like I said, there were there's about 7 rooms in there of different buildings and things that you can see, and they're all just beautiful. That little doll there was probably 1 inch tall, and I liked all the utilitarian stuff. You know me, I like my dishes. And the chandeliers were all lit up, and they were just beautiful. Now this is more of an 80s style room, but I thought it was so pretty. And think of the work it took to make that little pitcher and bowl. And these little dishes with such detail. Now, these aren't decals, or I don't think they are. And this is real glass, a decanter with glasses. And this little vase was beautiful. And this somebody was doing needlepoint, and this little hoop was about 1 inch wide, and they were actually doing it. And I love this lamp. Kind of a Bunny Williams vibe. And this little jewelry box, look at those little candle holders. This jewelry box was only about 1.5 inches tall, and it was full of jewelry. It was just amazing. And Jane Graber pottery. This talked like Jane was still doing pottery, but I believe she retired. She's based in Nashville, Indiana, and she's made some of the most beautiful miniature dishes. And I was lucky enough to have bought several of her pieces back when she was working and going to shows. And I'm really happy I did, because they had a few pieces of her stuff there, and they've gone up in price, $150 to $180. I saw one piece that was $225. And I'm glad I bought mine when I did, because they're really pricey. But she was so good. And this little pitcher's only about 3/4 of an inch tall. These bowls, the whole stack's probably an inch. And can you imagine how little that candle holder is next to those 1-inch bowls? She's just amazing, and she does it all on a potter's wheel. And she hand paints everything. And here's a whole cupboard full of her stuff. They had a lot of Jane Graber. I think she must have either donated it or people donated it. Then they had the Addams Family house, which was pretty neat. I like the Munsters myself. I never really watched the Addams Family. Now, my husband did, and he knows all the characters. I just never got into it. But he told me some of these people's names, like Pugsley and Wednesday. I thought that birdhouse was really pretty. Somebody really worked to make that. And Lurch, is that his name? The guy that was like the butler? I don't know, guys. And I don't even know if this really looks like their house or somebody just made a house to be their house. But it was dark and gloomy. And then there's Wednesday, I guess. And then somewhere in here there's a Cousin It. I mean, they had all the characters. And apparently some woman wanted this, and she realized it was going to be a lot of work, so she had it commissioned. And somebody did a great job. Here's Cousin It. My husband said that's Cousin It. I know a little bit about them, but like I said, I always like to watch the Munsters. And these were some really pretty glass pieces. Glass is really hard to make in miniature. And all the lamps were lit up. And that's a little miniature house of their house. And then that's their car parked outside. There were so many people around. I thought that hand-blown decanter was pretty, glass. Then there was another mid-century modern house. And then when you looked in the front window, there was a fish tank. And I thought this lucite table was so pretty with the modern dishes and all the modern artwork on the walls and more modern vases and decor. This fireplace crackled and popped and lit up and flickered. It was real pretty. The artwork was all hand done by someone. Miniature artwork is hard to do too. And I love that chair. I can't remember what they call those. An egg chair maybe? And there's the mid-century modern kitchen, which was just beautiful. And they had, coming up here, you'll see a little set up on the top shelf of Fiesta ware. And I've been seeing a lot of the Fiesta ware in miniature. And I've got a lot of friends who collect Fiesta ware. But this was kind of dark. You couldn't see it really well. I have one of those little mixers. Mine's pink. But I thought all the more simple look was pretty. Now this is Jane Graber's miniature room where she works, like a studio where she makes her pottery. There's the kiln, and there's all kinds of pottery sitting around. There's some that she's working on at the table. There's some she's already done. Here's some that has yet to be fired and painted and glazed. The little potter's wheel ran around in circles. It was amazing, guys. I don't know if she made that or someone made it and put all of her things in it, but it was really neat. I can imagine that's what her studio probably looks like. I went to her studio in Nashville one time and watched her work, and she's amazing. And I've met her several times, and she's great. And then this was just another house. I thought this little doll buggy was cute. It was made out of leather. And this bicycle. And I asked the curator that was working that day, I said, can I take pictures? I've got a YouTube channel. He said, sure, send them over. These are not just 1/12 inch scale. They are 1/4 inch scale. They're the smallest scale you can get. And this is Jane Graber pottery in there. So she even makes miniature dishes. Then I thought this sink was neat because it looked really realistic with the rust and everything. They had like a little cabin, and they had a real primitive way of cooking, and they had the peeled potatoes and the pumpkin pie, and I just lost myself in all the little details. And I finally saw a Christmas tree there. I didn't think I was going to see one, with all the packages beneath it, and it was lit up, and I thought it was just so pretty. And there was this beautiful vase on top of this cabinet that was cranberry glass, but it was a lighter shade. But gosh, you can't complain about that. Look how beautiful it is. And then guys, look at this, a covered cranberry glass dish. Wouldn't I love to have that in real size? That's real glass. Somebody blew that and made a glass domed covered vase. And then look at that little nativity set on that table. It's only about a half an inch long. And this was that French kitchen that I was telling you about. I kept going back to it because people were really looking it over. And it just looked like you were in a French kitchen in some big hotel. And look at their rolling pin collection. I got to tell you my rolling pin story here in a little bit. They had some really pretty ones. I love that blue and white one on the top, and the glass one, and the second one there, that's a French rolling pin. And I saw these rolls sitting on the floor, bread, and I thought that cobalt vase was beautiful. And then all the canned goods, they had shelves and shelves of canned goods, and that's part of the French country kitchen. And I just thought that little table was so delicate with all the little rosebuds. And then they had miniature dolls, and when I say miniature, I mean like an inch or shorter. These little dolls were less than an inch tall, and they have so much detail in them. And they had miniature guns and pipes and cases and comb sets and the bath sets, the pitcher and bowls and the little sponges. Just about anything you can imagine. I've always told you guys, everything you can imagine for a house you can have in miniature. I thought these were pretty. We know of an antique store called House with the Lions Antiques, and that reminded me of the front of her house. And then the fun part, they have a little gift shop where you can go in and buy miniatures. I'm dangerous in there. Every time I've ever gone there, I've bought dishes, and I usually buy one piece of furniture. And this time, there's wallpaper down there. When I went in, I kind of zeroed in on one thing, and that was a rolling pin. Because now I did buy this. It's a butcher block that a lady made, and I forgot to write her name on the screen, but I'll tell you in the next video. And look at the little cut marks on top of it. That's something I couldn't make. But this rolling pin with the red handles is what I bought. And the other rolling pin is one I made probably 25 years ago. It's the only rolling pin I ever made, and it was pretty pathetic. But rolling pins are hard to make, so I bought one. But I thought this little picture was beautiful. I try to buy things that I can't make. I can't make a picture this beautiful. It was gorgeous. I'm not even going to tell you what I paid for it because it's ridiculous for a little 1-inch picture. It's not even 1 inch. And then they gave me this little gift bag, and when I got home, something fell out of it, and it was a little miniature magazine. So I thought that was awful cute. So here's all the stuff that I bought. I also brought that brown picture. That's more the style of pictures that I can make myself. And the rolling pins and the magazine on the butcher block. And if you get a chance, go to Carmel, Indiana, if you live in the area, and see this museum. You can go online and see lots of pictures of it, too. It's really great. Now, here's the cabinet that I was telling you about in my kitchen that I was having trouble decorating, and I finally just decided to put my fall stuff in, or my Halloween collection. This isn't even half of my Halloween collection, but I had to fill it with something. And I kind of like it. Guys, I have too much stuff. I need to start doing everything in miniature because I'm running out of room and I'm crazy and have too much. I got to quit buying. I got to quit getting gifts. My friend Sherry gave me that big antique paper mache pumpkin, and I have to put it out every year. And I don't know if you guys remember, but last year, the day she gave me that, I lost my keys. Well, I got that pumpkin out the other day to put it out in that cabinet, and I heard something jingle in the bottom, and my keys were in it. They have been in it all year long. She had stuffed some tissue paper in there so that the little eyes stayed in place. This is it. The little tissue paper eyes that are in there, she'd put tissue paper in there, and my keys had fallen in there, and I didn't know it. It sat out all last year for Halloween, and I didn't know my keys were in there, and I went and paid a fortune to have new keys made and new fobs and everything. Anyway, and this is a paper mache pumpkin that I made years ago. And I just have, there's my little Halloween queen. I made her years ago. I just have too much stuff, guys. Maybe I just ought to start doing everything in miniature and forget about big stuff. Because it's not looking good. My house is looking too cramped, and I'm going to have to get rid of some stuff. And you know how I like my stuff. I like it all. I'm peeking out from back there is one of the little vintage trick-or-treat sacks that I have. But yeah, I have too much stuff, and I've already given a bunch of stuff away, and I've already sold some stuff, but I got to get rid of a lot more. So maybe I'll just finish my Halloween collection in miniature and forget about the big stuff. Is that a good idea? Help me out, guys. There's my vintage trick-or-treat sack. It's only about 5 or 6 years old, but I have some that go way back. And of course, there's my little primitive pumpkin that I make. I sell those, and I just sent out the last one for the year. And my little pumpkin recipe book that I got at my friend Mary's store. And my little junk mail angel that I made. She kind of overlooks all my collections. And my friend that just passed away, she gave me that big crock bowl. So I got it out the other day and put some pumpkins in it and set it right up on top of my cabinet. And got to clear out, guys. And this was the flat basket that I got recently while thrifting, and I put that on the front, and it kind of hides some of my stuff. Now this is the one my friend Sherry got me that my keys were in. And this little thing, I found him at a yard sale, and he's so darn cute. He's black and he lights up. I found that at the covered bridge last year. It's not an old one, it's a reproduction. But don't forget, if you live in the area, our Park County Covered Bridge Festival in Rockville, Indiana, Mansfield, and Bridgeton is this week. It starts tomorrow. I don't know if we're going tomorrow or not, but I will take pictures. I was going to go down and visit some more of the shops to show you guys what's down there, but I think you got the gist of it in my video about the Vintage Relics store. And of course, this is Bloomfield's. You want to go there. Vintage Relics. Cora's Place, the dime store, they're all there on the square. You can't miss them if you go to Rockville, Indiana. And I wanted to get down there and take some more pictures for you guys, but I think you get the gist of it. It's a great place to go, and it'll be packed. So take some comfortable shoes because it's a big place. And we'll be going there again, and I'll film what's going on there for those of you who can't go. So, as always, please follow me on Instagram at MarcyJo631. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You've been leaving me the most wonderful comments, and thank you for all your feelings about my friend that I lost last week. I love you guys. I love you all so very much, and I'll be back soon with more Covered Bridge.